Hey guys, welcome to Marketing Monday Live with me, Liezel V. So this started on about the 30th of March in the middle of lockdown in South Africa as a way for us to connect as small business owners to answer your marketing, personal branding, and advertising and social media related questions, as a way for us to grow during the pandemic, and also a way for us to check in on each other, to get advice, to share tips. And it's not a one-way discussion with me, it's a two-way discussion. And before our guest joins us, every Marketing Monday, if you're new to this, we normally share details of a small business in our community doing great things and why. And you normally say hi to me and let me know where you're watching from. So in the comment section down below, just say hi, let me know where you're watching from, and celebrate the small business in your community. I love hearing from you. So our guest today holds a communications degree from Wits, is a mom, is a person who knows her personal brand and doesn't shy away from who she is. She's a new age traditional healer. And wait, before you close your browser and say, oh, what's a traditional healer going to teach me about business? Now's your time and opportunity to find out about SANGOMAs, about traditional healers, and of course, get business tips and advice from a new age SANGOMA. And of course, if you're too shy to ask that question, you can send a direct message to me. I will monitor the direct messages in my inbox as we welcome Nomfundo Dhlamini to our Marketing Monday Live here on YouTube and on Facebook. Great to have you. Gogo Nomfundo Dhlamini, welcome to Marketing Monday Live.
Hi, Liezel. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And I'm so excited to be here.
There's going to be so many questions, but what we normally do on a Marketing Monday is we kick off with a small business that you admire or doing great things in lockdown, and you share the business with us as a way to celebrate small businesses doing great things.
Okay, so I think today I'd like to celebrate Gogo Moyo Speaks. She's also a traditional healer, and she does have a channel of her own on YouTube. So she's been able to use this platform to educate people just around African spirituality and around a lot to do with prayer, meditation, a lot just around the space of how do you connect with self and get deeper into self. And I think for me, because she's one of the first digital healers that I interacted with, I like how she does a lot of her work and how a lot of her content is created. So I think I'd like to celebrate her in particular today, because even some of how I work is just influenced by a lot of her thinking and a lot of how she's done things. So I think people are welcome to also go to her YouTube channel. I think it's Gogo Moyo TV, but she is Gogo Moyo Speaks on all social media networks, so it would be easy to find her. But that's my business for today.
Yay, so celebrating small businesses and another female-owned business. I'll post the details down in the comment boxes below, so if anyone wants to follow her. Let's get started, because we've got viewers from Italy. We've got Nico joining from Italy saying hello, as he does every Monday. We've got people from Ireland, from the UK, from Asia joining us. And now we've got a traditional healer. In South Africa, we call them SANGOMAs. But explain to our viewers, what is a traditional healer and what do you do?
Sure. So a traditional healer, I think, is someone who's actually born a healer. So normally for us as Africans, we would think that it's something that's more of a painful exercise to come into, because you do have to go through a training process. But to be honest, as I've grown into the journey, I've realized that it's someone who gets born into healing and is drawn to advising other people just around their paths in life. And they use a lot of methods for divination. So one of the things is that traditional healers are people who dream a lot of information about waking life, right? So you'd find that we get messages in our sleep about things, and we are able to almost understand how these messages are able to impact real life, right? But the second part is that once we have gone through healing or training, then we also become people who help transport the messages from our ancestors or from the person's ancestors. So what you'd find is common is that traditional healers use bone divination. So we would throw bones in order for us to see what the ancestors have to say or what messages relate directly with the person or the person's life at the time. So I think what's interesting is that over the years, I've started growing and learning that a lot of people get fixated on the bone divination, but they don't realize that when you're a traditional healer, it means that you're an energy person in any case. So it doesn't mean that you are necessarily going to need your bones in order to see information about other people. It's just that the bones help clarify the messaging for us, so that we know exactly what to discuss with someone at a particular time and not have the message being cluttered in a way. But I think the most interesting thing about what we do is that along the journey, I mean, we also learn a lot about African herbs. So this means that in as much as we're able to give you your problem, we also are able to kind of find solutions as to how we break this problem down for you, so that later when you're looking for changes in your life, some of the herbs that we've been taught or some of the herbs that we dream are the solutions that we give to you as our patient in order to solve your problem. So for example, I help a lot of people who struggle with migraines. So I know exactly that if your head is sore, there is a particular herb that I would use maybe just to help you out and get rid of those. I think the interesting part though is that because of how sacred our traditional healing is, a lot of the methods that we use, we wouldn't necessarily share with someone else. So it's unlike a doctor who would prescribe Panado to you and then it's outwardly known that I used Panado with you. But whatever I would give you, I would almost be certain would be the solution for your problem.
And how does traditional healers in South Africa compare to African healers and traditional healers around the world?
So I think that one is interesting. Just with me doing a lot of reading and a lot of research, I think maybe the how we divine is really the only difference, right? So some people in Africa would use bones, some would use water, some would use other sorts of mediums. I think even down to matchsticks for certain people. But I do think just on a holistic level, from what I'm seeing, especially in the African context, we really are more alike than different. And even some of the spirits that we would maybe refer to are spirits that if you really look around, especially the sub-Saharan African region, they have similar names. They almost also form in a similar way. So you'd find that a lot of healers who became healers would say that they struggled with headaches before. They wouldn't be able to sleep properly. They would get visitations from ancestors. Normally, most of them are inclined to either music or the sound of the drum. So these things for me make it quite similar. I think the only other thing is probably the language, you know, where you'd find that we use different languages to speak to our ancestors, but on a more holistic level, because I do also have maybe friends who are more psychic or mediums. But when I really look into the healing journey, I realize that we're actually more alike than different.
And how has COVID affected your business in terms of being able to see patients and to deal with patients?
So I think in the beginning, it was a bit confusing and a bit hard because we were limited to actually just using maybe digital platforms or telephonic consultations were done, whereas normally we are used to doing face-to-face consultations and having people really in our space, you know. But for me, I think it's been quite positive because I've also used that, or I've used a lot of my consultations as a way to kind of show me that there is still life after COVID, you know. So hearing the different messages that I have for people, I can hear that, geez, these are quite futuristic messages. So this doesn't mean that it's the end of our society. Maybe, yes, we have to adjust a bit of how we're living, but not necessarily anything to do with us completely dying out, for example, you know. And I think those messages have encouraged me so much just as a person that I also use them to encourage some of my other clients sometimes. And I've also had some clients who have had COVID and probably the person was feeling really, really down at the time. But because the messages I was giving them were so encouraging, it also helped them heal faster, you know, because when you're looking forward to your future, you kind of get excited and everything. But I also think on precautionary measures around safety, I've really enjoyed the whole sanitizing, washing of hands, and
Yeah.
thing that we really need to adopt just holistically for the future. I think it's really helped us be more aware sometimes just around cleanliness. Not that we weren't clean before, but that we actually can do better around this. And I think there is a lot of misconception around traditional healers where people think that, oof, maybe their herbs aren't clean. Oof, maybe they aren't clean. But the fact that we've been able to actually have consultations with people during this time and know that we adhere to social distancing, for example, know that people have to sanitize their hands. I think it's been a really interesting journey, even on the traditional aspect, to say that, geez, we are teachable people and there are things that we do see as important if someone has just explained them to us and we can do them and then we run smoothly in our practices.
Now, you hold a degree in communications from Wits, and I want to know, does that add or distract to your practice?
So I felt largely that it's added, I think even as a child growing up in South Africa, it's quite hectic because you almost have a different picture of what a traditional healer is supposed to be and look like, So growing up, I imagined that traditional healers were really scary people with long dreadlocks who probably didn't even bath, But I got to a point where I realized that these people are just messengers, They have a whole lot of messages that they want to impart to the world. And some of those messages are really positive. And because of my communications degree, I think there are messages that aren't so great sometimes that I need to share with people, but I've just been able to unpack them so well that when someone leaves my space, the person does still have a sense of, geez, my life is not so bad and things are going to be okay. And for me, I think this has been my biggest win. So I always look at it and think, geez, the universe is so intentional because at a certain point in my life, I didn't even think I would end up in the communications field. But now that I am there, I almost understand that it was really because I needed to relay messages and I needed to relay them in such a way that someone else feels so comfortable that they can come back to me later or they can go to another healer later. But I think more interestingly, just in the period that we're in, it's also been able to help us distract a lot of the constructs around traditional healing that existed maybe in the past, where we all were so scared of this thing. But when we start unpacking it and I guess also being a creative, you start looking at this thing in new ways and just creating something completely different to the realities that other people had constructed for you. And I think the comms field has been so instrumental for me, in this, because I've realized how words mean so much, hey? They mean so much.
Absolutely. You also got quite a strong personal brand. You know exactly who you are. You know exactly who your ideal client is and who you're talking to. For business owners that are watching, small business owners, for corporates that are watching, what personal branding advice do you have for them when they struggle with sharing who they are personally?
I think for me, the best thing is to stay authentic, because people cling to authenticity. One of the things that I've looked at, even with some of my friends on social media who are in the healing space, is that they've never taken away from themselves. So, for example, as Nomi, I'm actually quite a quiet person, but when it's time for me to share messages with people, I do almost take a different form, and I think that form is more authentic. And because of that, people are able to always come back to me. I also do genuinely care about people. So I think whenever I do also try and do any work, I try and do something that I know for sure is going to impact people positively. And I think even that, when you're looking at the brand work, is important, because the moment that something is not real and authentic, people can tell, and for me, this is what keeps people coming back to a brand. If you stay authentic, you stay honest, and you stay doing things in a way that's just original to you. Because there's a lot of people in the market, and in any market, there's always a lot. But if you make sure that you're different and authentic in your difference, then there's definitely something that will keep people coming back to you. And this for me is interesting, because then it also taps into the pricing of whatever you're trying to do. Because if you're authentic and whatever you produce is quality, then people will always be willing to pay the fee, and they won't negotiate your rates either, because they know that what they're getting with you is highly authentic, you know. So I think this for me has helped me quite a bit. And I think in any business, this is something that will definitely work.
That's such vital advice, because I get so many business owners and small business owners coming to me and going, what do I charge for my service? How do I know that I'm not overcharging? And it's about understanding your brand and who you are.
Yes.
But it's also about understanding your ideal client. And in your case, who is your ideal client?
Sure. So for me, it's interesting. I think I don't have an ideal client, right? So for me, the ideal person is someone who has questions about, maybe I just feel so down about life. Is my future going to be bright? How is my future going to look? But also someone who's trying to connect honestly with their ancestors and just what their ancestors have to say to them, right? And after this, we then find out, because I then sometimes get clients who you find are themselves going to become traditional healers and need direction, maybe, you know. But some people, it's just people who are maybe looking for work or looking for positivity. So on this plane, what I have noticed is that most of the people that come to me are mostly people who suffer from headaches or migraines, people who are really in search of employment and have been struggling for a really long time, and they really just want to know, like, why am I not getting a job? But they're not maybe looking for a specific job, but just that light at the end of the tunnel for them to get one opportunity, let's say. And then I also do get then a lot of people who have been struggling with the journey itself. And I am sort of able just to guide them in that regard, even if it doesn't mean that in the end I'm going to be their mentor, you know. So just almost showing them the way into, this is what you should be experiencing if you are going to become a traditional healer. And these are some of the steps that you should be taking towards that direction, just so that it's easier on you and it's not so harsh.
Now, you mentioned mentoring, and I know you look out for a lot of youngsters and young upcoming Sangomas or traditional healers. What advice do you have for young Sangomas, young traditional healers that are trying to get their voice heard in an already cluttered social media space with so many traditional and non-traditional and a variety of healing practices out there, from international healers to local healers? How do you get your voice heard?
So I think for me, the first thing is to really do honest work, you know, because one of the things about traditional healing work is that, remember, in the past, we never had all of these platforms and mediums. So how people would actually get clients was via word of mouth, you know, and this is why we don't actually really look at it like a business, even though it kind of ends up becoming like one, right? So for me, that's how I've gotten most of my work. It's by actually putting the work in such that someone else is going to refer someone else to me, and really that is just word of mouth, right? But then I also then started thinking, sometimes I've got messages to share with people, and I feel like I want these messages to go out to anyone, even if I'm not client facing, for example. And then I looked at, what am I good at, right? So sometimes I'm not great at video, I'm not great at speaking, but I am great at writing. And I started a blog. So it's also to go into the aspects of yourself that you feel, geez, I'm really good at this, and I think that this makes sense for me. And you kind of find that that grows you. So again, it goes back to the authenticity part, where you realize that sometimes the things that you know that you're really good at are the stuff that you should be focusing on, and the stuff that you should be pushing, because that will lead more people towards you and your brand. So don't basically fake it. Don't act like you're a great actress or something like that, and then be on video if it's just not who you are, you know. But if you know that you can write, and you know that you've got specific messages for different people, maybe on a certain day, then do that, and that will find its way to other people, and this will either grow you or your social media networks or your brand. And I think it's one of those things that sometimes you don't really think about it, because for you it seems like, oh, this is like second nature, but it's not. Sometimes it's also the universe pushing you towards what you're really good at, and just saying, be true to that, and you'll grow from that.
Now, you mentioned social media, and you don't shy away from social media. You don't shy away from YouTube. You don't shy away from new age media. What is your favorite platform, and what platform should any business have on their phone or be on, if you can give them that advice?
So for me, I think because I'm quite a visual person, Instagram is my favorite platform. But my fastest growing platform, funny enough, is Twitter. And I think this is because a lot of people engage on Twitter. They have a lot of conversations on Twitter. And it's really also a space where you can also learn from other people, you know. So I do think as a business, you do kind of need a mix of both. You do need the visual elements as well, in terms of like an Instagram platform or a page where you can create content and have the content live there from time to time, maybe change it up. I think it's very interesting how visual people are sometimes, you know. Sometimes we don't need too much. We just need a picture and we get it, you know. But I do think that Twitter does have a way of you learning different things about different people from different countries. And I do think if your engagement there is quite good and you can relate well with people, you can also learn a lot just in terms of your business as to, okay, what is it that people are really looking for? Where is the gap in the market, you know? And I think just that way you can really find yourself as a business growing. I mean, you can even compare pricing sometimes on Twitter. It just depends what you're looking for. So sometimes I say, if I am looking for something, I just Google on Twitter.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Now, talking about, you mentioned you follow foreign accounts and you get advice from foreign healers. We've got a foreign question that I'm going to put on. It's from Nico, and he's based in Italy. Gogo, what is your first approach with your clients in order to get trust and empathy with them? What is the secret for you? And the second one is, how much local cultural aspects and roots affect and weigh on your business? I mean, could you bring your activity abroad without facing cultural resistance? He's saying it's not quite easy to explain from an Italian point of view, and he hopes he gets his question across perfectly.
Okay, so I think, interestingly enough, I do have some international clients already, right? And how I've found these people is that most of the people would either be Africans or South Africans who are living abroad. So how I interact with them is either via telephone. Usually we do a WhatsApp call or a Skype call, right? But I think in terms of physical travel as well, I would not really have a problem with physically traveling elsewhere, because I just have to make sure that my papers are in order and everything. So I feel like my practice is not limited to a particular area per se, because I can take myself and go there and I'd still kind of be a healer. I do think, yes, some people might be resistant to it because it's not something that they are fond of. But for me, it's like in any kind of healing practice, you find that it is different and people sometimes don't understand. But sometimes if you really, really need help, you kind of go and do whatever means is necessary at the time for your kind of healing. And interestingly enough, I do know other traditional healers who are from South Africa, but practice in places like Germany, for example. So you'd find that at different seasons in the year, the person is living in Germany for quite a few months, doing some work there with sort of their specialized patients, you know, and then for certain months, the person is here in South Africa doing their work here in South Africa with their patients as well, and they've never really been affected. I think only the language has been maybe a barrier, but for example, the person I'm speaking about even speaks German now and does have a family in Germany as well.
So Nico, I know you're watching from Italy. You never know. We could have Gogo coming over to you and speaking to you. It's so interesting that we are seeing South African SANGOMA, South African traditional healers all over the world. but we still get a little bit of resistance. The minute I mentioned to some people that I'm interviewing you, people's faces and the reactions, you get quite mixed reactions. You get the excitement and the interest, and then you get the people who are scared and
Yes.
resistant to speaking to you or hearing more about you. How do you get through that? How do you get through to people?
I think it goes back to being authentic, because one of the things I noticed is that just as human beings, aside from being spiritual, you can almost really tell if someone is a good person or not. You can tell with someone's energy sometimes that, geez, like I would like to really have conversations with these people, or actually, I just don't want to have a conversation with this person. And this is, I think, a sixth sense that we all have as human beings. So for me, it's like if you see traditional healers as human beings first, then sometimes you find that your interactions with them are actually way better because they're no different from me or you. And most of the time you find that, for me personally, I'm not an invasive character, right? So I would not really switch on my sight when I'm around someone. I really want to get to know you just as how you want to present yourself to me, and only when you let me in. So I'd say, like, when you've opted into a consultation with me, would I ever really start engaging with you on that level where it's like now I'm kind of like seeing into you? And I also feel that has helped me a lot with friendships, with other people, even in the work sector, where people are like, okay, can you see stuff about me right now? And I'm like, no, because I actually have taught myself not to just into someone's spirit like that, and for me, that's helped me really gain a lot of friendships, even outside of me working in healing. But I meet really authentic people because I'm authentic towards other people too.
Now, you're not just in the healing space, you work a full-time job, and you work full-time in the healing space as well. You juggle two careers. How do you manage your time, and how do you manage to do this?
So I think for the most part, I do a lot of my healing work on weekends, and this has helped me quite a bit because also with energy and all that, I realized that when I do it during the week, I'm almost always switched on to energy. And then you'd find that sometimes, because I get a lot of people's, so say, for example, someone is sick. As a traditional healer, you would know before. And sometimes you know before because you feel it before. So I started working out a formula like, okay, so if I only switch on from Friday to Sunday, then at least I get to manage the energy, and people at work aren't asking themselves what's wrong with her today. So I've done it that way. But I do sometimes have days where, if I can really feel that this is something that I really need to do, or someone that I really need to help, then I would take leave on certain days, So for me, that has helped a lot. And I think it's also helped that whenever I've worked with people or worked for someone in the corporate space, I've always been an open book. So I'm always quite honest to people to say that, look, I actually am a traditional healer. This is something I can't take away from myself. So there will be days where maybe I'm not okay and I can't explain why I'm not okay. But I need you to know this about me. And it's really helped me just with balancing a lot of things out. So I've never had really a manager or a boss who looks at me and doesn't understand that, oh, geez, there's another side to her as well. And I think that's helped me a lot. But yeah, I kind of do a lot of my healing work on weekends. The balancing part, I'm not sure if I balance yet, because I think I find myself sometimes not wanting to stop. So things like eating, sometimes I could forget to eat, but I'm working on that.
Now, you mentioned the balancing. You're trying to find the balancing and you forget to eat. What about you time? Do you ever have time just for yourself, just to relax and unwind? And what do you do?
So I do. And when I do this, I'd actually officially announce that I'm taking a break for like a week or two, and just advise all my clients that actually I need me time. And the me time is usually me going out with my friends, because I do have quite a few friends, going to whatever concerts, going for lunch. If someone invites me to a party, I'd go, but just during that period of time, you know. So I think the interesting thing is, because I am young, at a point I used to think that I wouldn't really enjoy the healing work. So I didn't give as much time to it. But the more I grow in the healing work, it's almost like I'm also drawn to healing people. And I enjoy doing this so much, more sometimes than going out and having fun and whatever. So I've also got quite a few friends who I think understand this about me. So when I am around, it's exciting times and we're all happy and we're all grooving. But as soon as I explain that, ish, guys, I need to go back to the work now, then a lot of my friends are also quite supportive of this. But I do take time out. Trust me, I actually do like having a good time.
That's really vital for your energy, for reboosting and revitalizing, and just spending time with friends and family. Very, very vital.
Yes.
Before we say goodbye, how can people get hold of you? What social media platforms do you use? Okay, so I am on Instagram as Nomi_Dhlamini. So Dhlamini is DHLAMINI. And I'm on Twitter as @Nomi Dhlamini. So same spelling, just that the other one has an underscore. And then you can also email me on info@newAgeSangoma.co.za. I do have an SMS line as well. It's 083-988-7916. So basically you'd send an SMS to ask for a booking consultation, and then I do have an assistant who does take down my bookings and kind of schedules everything for me. Yeah. So that's really incredible. What I'll do is I will post those details in the comment section down below for anyone that's not watching live right now and watching at another time. The contact details will be down below. Gogo Nomi, really great chatting to you. Thank you so much for opening our eyes, explaining to us about traditional healers, giving us personal branding, marketing, and business-related tips, and just sharing your story with us. Thank you so much for having me, Liezel. I think it's been so cool, actually, and I can't wait. Like, I hope that everyone was informed, got enough information, and that, yeah, some of them will contact me. Of course, contact, and of course, if there's any questions that we might not have answered or covered in our Marketing Monday, you'll be happy to answer them on social media. So please feel free or post in the comments down below. Gogo Nomi, have a great day, and I look forward to catching up with you and chatting to you again later this year and seeing what the rest of the year holds for you. Thank you. Have a good day further. Thanks so much. Watching Marketing Monday Live, that was our guest today. Mother of one, a traditional healer, someone that holds a degree in communications and is a traditional healer, and taught us a thing or two about what traditional healing can teach us about business, marketing, and social media. Every Monday we go live at noon. I interview a different person in a different space, in a different aspect of business, and we relate it back to marketing, business, communications, social media, and PR. And you get involved, you ask your questions, and we ask it to our guests. If there's any marketing or personal branding questions, if you have any questions for our guests and they might not have had a chance to post it, you can post it. We'll post the comment details down below. I have given all the contact details for our guests in our comment section. Have yourself a great Monday. We'll catch up again with you next Monday. And just to let you know, I also host a Fitness Friday live. This Friday, we'll talk all things fitness at noon. Have yourself a great day. Cheers.